Hey, what's up everybody? Mike from I Am Wessel Art here. I am going to be doing a video, something I haven't done in a very long time. And I've decided to do this like what I always do. I'm going to do it live, real, unprocessed, and kind of just like me. Woo! I have to move back just a little bit, reforming the freaking composition and stuff. But yeah, I've been kind of quiet over the last like 6-8 months when it comes to like the backstory of a lot of my art. I've written a couple of books and stuff like that, but like getting people to notice, open up, and read books is not the easiest of thing. But yeah, video is definitely the 21st century. Man, this is like I think the third or fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh time I've tried this. So I've got like these weird bullet point lists of stuff that I'm like, oh, that was cool to say, and I'm like, that was the other video, not this video. So I am going to roll myself a joint right now, and I'm going to do, while I do that, I am going to kind of give you a little bit of context, backstory to exactly what I'm going to be showing you, which in itself is very inexact, I think. Anyways, so let me get to it. I'm actually going to be smoking some of the marijuana that I grew. Like, I know there's a lot of people that would be kind of like, oh man, I don't want to talk about the fact that any of that stuff because, you know, socially acceptable, stoners, all this other bad image. And I'm like, I work like 12 hours a day. I wake up in the morning like 7 a.m., sometimes earlier and sometimes later. First thoughts, business, work, art, boom, boom, boom. And it's like, from till the moment I go to bed, there's very few times I'm not thinking about what I do. And so it's like this concept of being a lazy or irresponsible stoner, not getting the stuff done that I need to get done. Total bullshit. But anyways, I am going to give you a little bit of a context. So I don't want to go too... The problem is sometimes when talking about my art, at least as me, it's like I just like fall into these deep holes talking about what came from where, came from why, came from how, and all this other stuff. But, oh man, completely lost my place. I should mention in the last 3 or 4, 5, 6, 7 times I took this, I was also smoking a joint. So if I have to roll another one now, you can guess what happened to the other one. But that's good. I want to be stoned when talking about this. Like 2020 has been absolutely insane, and it's been like I didn't even want to talk about my art for the longest time because it was just like, whoa, like. I didn't know how to describe it, but it's like I gotta get back to it. I gotta contextualize, give this stuff stories to remember them for myself mainly. I don't expect anybody to ever watch this except for some crazy awesome like diehard fans that are like, dude, remember that one video, November 10th, 2020, after the elections, like Mike got really stoned and talked about, yeah, like those kind of fans. I love them. I love y'all. I love all people that are fans of my art, and even ones who are not. Oh yeah, context is what I was getting at. So yeah, abstract, expressionistic painter in Los Angeles. Been a crazy journey to get to where I am. Today is 2020, like I said, November 10th. Yeah, I love painting me some abstract. Behind me, there's some of the stuff that I've done in the past. Like I've done, like I don't want to like fall into all the rabbit holes of talking about all the different stuff, but there's a whole variety, like as I'm rolling this joint, that you can take a look behind me. But what I'm going to be showing today has looks nothing like that. So, well, maybe 1 or 2 pieces, but which is really fun for me to think about sometimes when I see like my work as it goes through different waves and periods and stuff like that. Not like they're really long and they're really short, the amplitudes and wavelengths. But that's just because I'm so new at this stuff and the world is so weird right now. But yeah, the stuff I'll be showing, there's history that where I'm at now comes from where I was back then. But just because that's who I was then doesn't mean that's who I am now. Which is really frustrating, especially when trying to work on certain commissions. To be like, oh, who was I when I made that? Shit, can I be that person again? Yeah, abstract expressionism is really freaking weird for me. I wish I could be like one of those normal artists, just like I paint and then I have some emotional stuff, and it's like, nah. But yeah, I'm super happy to have like gotten a couple successful like single plant grows. Like it was an experiment and it was a fun little thing to do over the summer. Get to know some new people, try some new stuff, keep yourself entertained, save some money, because good God, when you can grow your own, it makes so much better. And the kind of cool love and stuff you can impart in as you grow, and like taking care of it, and the relaxation and the hobby aspect and all the information and stuff. But yes, context. Abstract expressionist out here in Los Angeles. Behind me is history of my art. I love doing like whoosh, like a lot of like big movement stuff. Um, which is frustrating because as of recently I haven't been able to do any of that because A, there's a commission that I need to fulfill that's really driven a lot of my experimentation. B, my room is I better not laugh too hard and blow all the weed off my table. Yeah. But yeah, I don't have the space anymore. Like, I can paint outside and all this other stuff. I have the big tarps, but it's like storage. I literally have a room full of art, a closet full of art. The hallway is getting filled up with art. My car is filled up with art. My trunk is filled up with art. I've given away so much art to my friends, and it's like, yeah, I want to do so much more bigger stuff and really get out stretching. But interestingly enough, a combination of the commission that I have to work on and finish off, and just like the restrictions of my space and all that other jazz has led me into a different direction with like how I use paint. Which yeah, like how I use paint is always fun too. Man, I can ramble on about what goes on in my head forever because it's like completely random sometimes. Like why something happens or why I go a certain direction or why I use a certain color. Like that's the fun, like the stuff I'm going to show today, like you know, you have a lot of this different like almost written feel to it. Like that one especially has like actual writing. That's a super old piece. But it's like you see like the lines that move around and it's just like the splashes and like swirls and just kind of this is like, going to be something completely different today. But it's also a combination of a lot of different things. Like I've noticed that like I'm also focusing a lot on drawing right now because yeah, you can't just be stuck into one different aspect, I don't think. Also, short-term honesty, it's just like there's a lot more ways to make money pretty easily from being able to draw and do graphic design than there is to be able to paint a lovely abstract piece. I mean, it just is the truth of the market. But it is crazy the stuff that goes on as you roll. I was like going to ask, like, so how's everybody doing who's watching this? It's like one of those videos that goes on. This is going on for 7 minutes, so this is interesting for me too. And we have yet to actually make it to art. But I think context is important in understanding the artist because, man, there's a lot of art that I see out there that's definitely mimic or like built off of. And it's like there's nothing wrong with that and that's completely cool. But I think a lot of things that have happened due to science and technology and just attention levels and interest and all this other stuff is, yeah, we've taken away from trying to like go different directions. Not saying that what I'm doing is a different direction, but it's like, oh no, now I have to restart the video because it maybe sounded pretentious or something. It's like, no, I'm not. Like, I am totally just a beginner at everything. It's like that's the craziest lesson I learn on a daily basis, how much of a beginner I am at everything. Like, with, like I said, I was the drawing that I'm working on now. Also because I have a different commission, which is awesome. I can't wait to continue to work on that. Yeah, like everything influences, and like a lot of the stuff early on, there was not as much drawing. It was mostly painting, and then through time it changes. Oh man. And I have not even started to talk about the art. This will be like the 10 minutes that everybody's like, okay, so if you fast forward this bit, which is just fine, I like to make sure that I roll properly. I mean, there's no hurry to anything. But art-wise, yeah. But yeah, like between the limitations of space, economics, and kind of the commission that I need to finish off, it's interesting how those all influenced this whole thing that I've been doing lately. But it's good, because that ties in with the drawing, because everything about art is you're practicing and learning and trying. It adds to the summation of everything. It's like, and then everything you do from that point is influenced by that. And if you pay attention, you realize and feel it slowly growing, and it's like, whoa! It's like this crazy freaking toolbox. And that's why I've had to learn not to be too disappointed with anything I do, whether I love it or I hate it, as long as I can figure out how I can use whatever happened. whether it's you know, just to be like, okay, so that I should never do again, to, ooh, if I do this to it later, like, everything's a lesson, and that's just a hard one to come to, I think, as an artist, especially abstract expressionism. Like, how do you figure out how to paint how you feel? Like, where does that come from? Is that like it sometimes feels like trying to describe the color blue to a blind man, or an elephant, like the visually impaired people trying to describe an elephant to each other, each person only having a piece of it. Like, sometimes I wonder that as I'm doing all this, I'm just like, why? But it's like, you gotta lean into that, because that's where, like, a video like this is one reason I'm doing it for myself as well, to remember the context of it, because some of them are really funny, some of them are rather pointless and unnecessary, but it's like, whatever, they've been created. So this is me rambling. Alright, so my joint has almost been rolled. Just into the last bits of it now. Yeah, I have a sucker as well. And to those of you who are going to be watching this, like, fuck yeah, you guys rock. I think I packed this one pretty well, actually, just through the rolling. Like, the marijuana I grew isn't the best of the best, but it's decently sticky, and yeah, definitely shows good care put into it. Yeah, I'm kind of nervous and scared to talk about art. That's why this is kind of taking forever to get there. It's funny, like 2020, like, I know there's so many people that are just like, fuck, and I'm there too. Like, there's the ups and downs of it. Like, we've been through a lot of stuff, and like, life wouldn't be like it is today if we hadn't gone through it, for better or worse. So, all right, man, that was such a rambly moment. But it's like, that's the life of an artist. Like, how do you consider every single day you go through? It's like, because I have to think business, I have to think art, and it's like, when you think art, it's not like, oh, what should I draw? It's like, especially in abstract expressionism, it's like, what do I conceptualize? Like, I have to build off of something that's never been done before. I really got to get better at actually going through some of the classics and learn how they did it and practice how they did it. Because it's always good to understand some of the structural background, be inspired by. It's like I said before, everything you do is a lesson, as long as you don't get stuck somewhere for too long. But yeah, I'm still too young to talk any about that shit. Alright, so 12 minutes and 45 seconds in, we begin with the art. So where do I start? So I was talking about these dots that I've been kind of obsessive about lately. It kind of comes from, I had a buddy, he sent me a bunch of like paint, like sample supplies and stuff like that, and so I developed a painting technique from that, because I love texture, and I'm obsessed in it in a way, especially with the way like paint comes out as a plastic polymer, and it just, but anyways, this was a whole different feel for me, and so, man, there were so many different pressures of me trying to figure things out, me trying to express certain things, like trying to figure, so much. Anyways, art, I gotta go to show you something. So this, okay, the color balance is so much better in here than it was outside when I did it, which is, yeah. Anyways, takes 1, 2, 3, and 4. But anyways, so this one, it's kind of like a party, a fiesta. Color balance isn't perfect, but maybe I'll fix that in post. But for me, like when I was getting to this, putting these dots down, good grief, there's like, I think I mixed together a couple different sessions. Maybe I should stick to one session, but anyways, what was I looking for? Oh yes, yeah, there's too much stuff sitting around me. Where did that one, I literally had this piece sitting, there it is. Nope, that's not it either. Good grief. Oh, there it is. Sorry, when I moved my stuff inside, I forgot to take track of the paintings. This is another one to kind of give a better explanation. Like, I did this because I wanted to, ash in my beard, go back and kind of play with, let's see, we can see, yeah, you see all those little dots and like the way that the paint kind of comes up for me, because it's edgy, and it's just like, I want to be careful that I don't push it on my thumb over too hard, because you can actually break the pieces off. but there's these little plastic polymer like spiky things. And as I was painting this, I became obsessed with that. And working with the color, like, you know, you start with one and then you find a balance to it, and then another one and another one, and pretty soon it becomes like a party. And that's where, like, this was a more recent piece than the first one that I showed, which was this one. Oh man, like, this is the shitty, sucky part about, like, freaking like, trying to explain my art, because I'm just like, oh, this is, and then I'm like, why does any of this make sense? I really got to get better at making standalone pieces. But, so you see this. This was one technique that I was working on from a series that I did about a month ago. And this was an evolution of it in efforts to try and get to, like, a color mixing like that I was talking about. And so, like, there's a whole, like, crazy series where I'm playing with these dots, and it's like how I decide the colors, like, well, this one was dependent upon what, well, they're always dependent upon what freaking colors I have sitting around and stuff like that. But, let me get to some more pieces that are similar to that, in that reason. Yeah, there's, like, different emotions and feelings behind different, like, patterns of why I go through stuff. Yeah, because there's another couple from that same conceptual thing. Working with the same techniques, like, it's all a bunch of splatter. Like, I get it. It's like, that's the thing that makes it hard, I think, in some ways, is like that judgment of what you think people are supposed to expect when they look at your art. Like, for me, I consider, like, these kind of, like, really not, they're beautiful. Like, I love them because the colors just, for me, work well together. And no matter which way you take it, like, if you stop trying to make too much meaning out of it and just let it touch you, I like it better. This is actually, I think there's two of these because they're a pair and they sit next to each other. But it's like, I get obsessed with, like, the way, like, these textures come out, and, like, with the different colors, like, you're like, oh, this sucks, and then you're like, oh man, I really love the way those 3-2 colors, wow, how that would make, wait, where did, like, there's a painting, like, from the dot C dip dot one from this one that I love. I was showing this to a buddy, and he was looking at it for like 5 minutes, and he's like, oh man, I really love this, I really love this. And then, like, 5 minutes later, he looks at me, he's like, dude, Mike, is that, like, a regular pink in there too? And he'd been, like, looking at the entire thing, and then just, like, all of a sudden you finally see something else. And that's why, like, the way I do these colors is very much just in the moment of the emotion. Like, I think in terms of balance, like, I put one down and I'm like, okay, what color would be really cool to go, like, as a counterpoint to that, and then a counterpoint, and then a counterpoint, and all the while, like, every time you add another color, you're adding, like, a whole, not just one counterpoint, but a complexity of counterpoints. Like, when I talk about trying to get back to this freaking commission that I'm trying to finish off, it's just, like, looking at the complexity of colors that I have in there that I got through a moment of inspiration and chance. It's like, to do that on a conscious, intentional basis, like, understanding all of these different color balances. Like, this is why, like, I really understand why I popped into dots. Like, even though the space, and I don't need to be, like, squash all around, like, doing, like, crazy hand gestures. It's like, there needs to be more of that mix. And, like, for example, this was, like, a bigger one. Again, like, it's very green dominated. There was another one as well that I did that was actually purchased already by a collector. I regularly gets my stuff, which is awesome having them. But it's like, there's even another one, like, I totally hate it. I totally do, but I can't get rid of it. One sec. Because, like I said, when I jumped into this whole, like, dot stuff, like, I'm very much into trying to figure out how colors balance together and mix together and all this other stuff. And it's, like, keeping in mind with the textures, because, like, with the paints that I've been using recently, they have more of, like, a plastic to them, less water content. I think they're medium-bodied paint, but it's, like, that has a whole new freaking, like, dimension for me as compared to, like, the way that the high flow, the thinner paints worked. And, like, but, like, I hate this piece and I love it. Like, it's totally something that should be thrown away. I guess it's, I freaking hate when I have to say, like, it doesn't come through in camera very well. But it's like, it's a piece, like, when you look at it in real life, there's just something weird about the way the colors nonchalantly work together. And it's just completely just, I might have to do some work with it, but it's just like that concept and being completely okay with taking something that it's like most people would think of as an abject failure, and then just like riding with it and being like, okay, like sure, let's just keep on going and see what it looks like. Like that's one of the coolest things that I've found lately with lessons is I'm like, wait, did I say that in the other video? No, I didn't say it in this video yet. It's like the lessons, like as long as you learn something, I did say that earlier. As long as you learn something from it, and it's like, I'm just like sitting here staring at it, but like when talking about the purpose of these dots and like the standalone dots are like focusing on texture, like in one like this, and there's more like this. They're just sitting in random places around my room, and I don't feel like standing up. Or like the more mixed ones where you begin to like get more of the splatter-like feeling. Like this isn't even like, oh man, like trying to get to that point of, like I said, that commission is really pushing me along, and so sometimes it's frustrating because you get to this point where like I should say I, not you, but I'm like trying these different techniques, and like these are frustrating. Like these are so far from where I would think of as personally like aesthetically amazing. Like for me, they stick around because they remind me of something I'm trying to do, I guess. Yeah, painting for me in some ways is just like a bunch of little sketch pads. But like just with those two specific directions, like working the texture and working the colors, like pushing them around, and like actually no, that's three different things. Yeah, because you have not only the color placement, like working with this green one. I'm like showing the same paintings when I have like 50 paintings still to show you. But they're different points that I want to make. But yeah, like it's interesting because each learning how those colors compress together, learning how those colors sit next to each other, learning how just on their own they can be like their own texture and color, and within the texture and color that creates its own character. Like this shit gets like, people I think sometimes look at art and they're like, oh, that's so, anybody, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, if you're looking at somebody who isn't just like following a YouTube tutorial or is trying to work through stuff, like yeah. Anyways, so there's like this building frustration because it's like I'm trying to work on these new techniques, these new ideas, these new concepts to like get to this fucking commission, and it's just like on my own personal stuff. Suddenly now it's just like how do I explain this? What would be a good piece to segue? Because there's a lot of different things I want to talk about. Yeah, the frustration building. So it's like when trying to put all these dots on a canvas, it can get very frustrating and very intense because like I don't take days to make a lot of these paintings. Like I let it all out when I do my paint sessions, and that's why it's like I know some people have asked me, hey, can we watch you paint? And I'm like, yeah, but it's not going to be kind of what you expect, and it's kind of yeah, we'll see where that goes. But and so was I talking about the frustrations and not being able to break through, and it's like how to express myself because it's like this tension is building, and I can feel it in just even when I'm doing these paintings. It's like you do this tension of dot 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 dot, and it's just like it's a lot like what color do you choose, like how do you make the color look or dot look like when you put it down, like why are you putting it, like there's this whole bunch of train going in the head, and so it's like I think for me the other day when I was doing a painting, I found the ultimate expression of kind of how I'm just trying to, but it's just like I did a 24 by 30 piece of just dots. And then I did a couple like press layers on it and stuff, and it's like to make, I keep saying intense over, but it is. Let me just show you the piece. So I'm sitting here and I started up here and I was doing these dot 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 dot, and it's like which color, how does he make it look, all this other stuff, and I just suddenly it's each dot that I was doing, I just got more and more frustrated, and it was just this ultimate gasp of like suddenly I'm like, fuck it, I'm just gonna put some black at the bottom of it. And it's like these were done, I believe, oh that's right, November 2nd or something like that, like the day before the election. So it ended up like looking at this on a secondary basis of just for me multiple meanings, like the subconscious and unconscious that came out of the frustration of trying to do like this ordered step by step, just like filing these things screwed and just doing whatever. Just like this breaking of attention, and that night that I continued to try and do stuff because for me, like yeah, like if I set out that I'm going to put dots on the entire piece, I need to be able to, like, on a personal, professional, and creative level, do that. Like, I can't continually I can't see shiny and always follow that. Like, that is not a good idea. So I went back, and for me, like, I know a lot of people like, oh, these are just black dots on a canvas, and I'm like, yeah, they are, but with the tension that I went through on the previous piece, I mean, if you look closely at this one, it's not just, well, there's layers to it as well, but there's like splatter, and it's just, it's a very strong piece of emotion from me. Like, here, like, this is like where it evolved into, but as I was looking down, I realized there was another piece or so between this one yeah, so when I went going, there, I'm like, I gotta do something different, and I just like, this was how muddled my brain was, like, from going from dots to being like, I need to do just like this midpoint of like trying to and paint at the same time, and just like there is just like for me, there's this deep intensity in each of the strokes as I was just trying to figure out why I was putting it there, for what purpose, and why that, like, actually paying attention to every single little aspect of it. And it's just like realizing the power of every stroke, and it's just like the weight of responsibility. It's just, but it's true. It's just like, it does matter what you put on a canvas, and it can get very, very frustrating. And it's just like, just to be in a place where it's fun to be like, okay, that's what I'm gonna do. Like, that's always the battle. Oh, man. I need a drink real quick. Wow, 26 minutes in. To anybody who's still here, hells yeah, y'all rock. To anybody who zoomed in, hells yeah, thanks for coming. Alright, let me take a couple hits. I still got so much stuff to do. It's like 3 or 3:30 in the afternoon here. I've been up since like 8, I think, 7, just non-stop. I did take 45 minutes as a lunch break. What was I watching? Oh, Maximum Overdrive. Like, oh man, it's funny. Like, once you begin to realize, since I began to realize that everything I put into my brain can be so influential and effectual, like paying attention to the different fonts that they use on different, not just like the title screens, but within the stores, like everywhere, and then how they, oh man, there's so much detail that can, yeah. These are things that I'm having to pay more and more attention to, like, as I get into drawing, because it's like, oh yeah, you know, like I have some clients say, oh yeah, they'll wear some clothes, and I'm just like, what kind of clothes? Are they formal, semi-formal? Are they casual? Are they new? Are they, it's like, and then you start paying attention to movies, and yeah, it's endless. I hope you're all having a good day, enjoying us wherever you might be, whatever time you might be. Yeah, man, like, yes, this is my design. Woo woo! And there's paint over it. Man. Wild times. But yeah, there's like a deep frustration that, like, trying to push something out, because it's like, I want to express in colors, but it's like, but creating the framework and then the desire of something I want to do versus the requirement of what I have to do. And it's like this weird combat that's always going in my mind. Like, I got to figure out how I'm going to change that and structure that better moving into the future. But, all right. Yeah, I don't want to smoke like the whole thing at once. Like, that would be insane. Not like I've never done. Anyways, art. So anyways, I hit this bit, and I was like bringing back from being super tense, and like, okay, I've got to regulate, bring it back. And so, man, even like a week later, some of these pieces is like, I get the backstory, but how it began, like, was it chicken and the egg? Like, there's these two pieces that I have here that they sit counter to each other, and there might even, I think, be a third. Like, sometimes it's weird and eerie how like these paintings begin to become sets, not just in like one night of painting where I might be do between 5 and 15 or something like that, but over a period of a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, like suddenly you have like weird color combos. And but these two I specifically made for each other because, like, I think this was the first one, yeah, because this was the paint over from a different session of painting that I wanted to do something different with. And then I was playing with these blues, and I just like dragged, like, as this medium body stuff that I've been working with lately. I was just dragging over there trying to create more of a texture. I can't go crazy with it because I don't have a lot of it. Like, I hate not having a lot of money, so I can't go really crazy. But even within that, you learn to do different things. So, like, whatever. And then the yellow, because I wanted to balance out the blue. Because, I don't know, certain ways colors have different weights and different feelings. And it's like, I see the textures, and like, I love, like, the way that I put these yellows in here. It might be kind of hard to see, but the blues kind of almost, like, dip into them. So it's like, it's a oneness of color and a balance. And so I did this one as a counterpoint. Like, originally it was going to be like yellow and then a bunch of blue, like, kind of going through the entire thing. But then like, this one was sitting out drying just next to it, and it's just like, I put down the blue and I'm like, done. And it's just like, yeah, it's a bunch of yellow and blue dots, but man, the symbolic meat, I mean, I could come up with some really quick BS thing. Like, all of my art in one way or another is a reflection of, like, kind of what's going on in my head. Like, you know, electricity and calmness, like energy and quiet, like finding peace and balance. Like, there's, you know, we have the koi fish over there. Like, a lot of my shit ends up in balance. And it's kind of a cool thing for me, because at the moment, then I'm like, I'm thinking more in terms not just of single piece, but sets of stuff. Because I've had people buy 4 pieces at a time. Like, these are those really small 8x8 canvases. People love buying them, like, multiples at a time, so they can set them in their bathroom or something. I'm like, I'm making bathroom art. But, you know, stages. Like, someday I hope somebody will look back and be like, that shit was in my bathroom. Now it's worth like $50,000. What the fuck? Because that'd be so funny. I mean, everybody's got to be and start somewhere. And some people never go anywhere. Life is life. But anyway, it's like a deep personal moment. I'm like, well, it's like, I don't know. As long as at least some of these end up in homes. But yeah, that was like a cool moment. Like that frustration of those other pieces. And like, oh man, like when we talk about texture and me loving it, like with these medium bodied ones, like this in itself, like I was going to keep on painting on this. I was going to spread it over because I do love black and white so much. And I just finished a different piece that I can't show because I gave it to a friend. I gave a number of pieces away from like the set of stuff that I did to friends because I love giving friends art. It's so much fun. But yeah, like this, like the black got put down because I was gonna do a whole different concept with it. But then the way that it hit down, and like the difference between, like, man, this video I hate. Whatever, it is what it is. But not only like the weight of it, but it's like got this 3D. Like suddenly it feels like, I don't know. And then you have the energy of all these different splatters because of how I was putting it down. Like I've done so many different ways of splattering paint that it's like when I'm getting to, like, for example, the end of a bottle or something, or sometimes I even use the bottles as the distribution caps. But you just learn to new stuff in different ways. But there was something about the texture of this paint as it hit the canvas, and then the weights of it, and then the different, like, yeah, I had to keep it as it was. And I love the energy of the splashes. But that's just like one of the weird things you have to start being okay with is like, not everybody's gonna like that. In fact, very few people might like that. Nobody else might like that. But do you know what? I like it, and that's good enough for me. I hear my roommates outside. I love this house. It's crazy. Anyway, so tension within dots. What would be something else? Pairings. Speaking of pairings, like I was beginning to think a little bit in terms bigger. Like I've done it before in the past, not just unconsciously but consciously, but it's been more of a recent focus. And so, which one did I do first? Oh yeah, speaking of simplicity, I don't know. I just really love this one. Like, love me, hate me, like whatever. I could add stuff, take stuff away. Like that's a constant fight. Like, is it enough paint? Does it say what I want it to say? Will people think of it as art if there isn't any more paint on it? Like, what do I do? And it's like, in the end, you're just like, the painting is supposed to be what it is. You can't fight against that. And it's like when you're trying to put, like, don't get me wrong, like you have to develop like skills and aesthetics and be able to do certain things to be able to express in a complete manner. It's like a language, art is. But I mean, I really like that because the pair to that one was this one. It's kind of in real life, it's a little bit more of a bright orange, like the light in this room. I'll figure out how to balance it, or I'll keep it like this, or I'll even make it more weird. Maybe I'll do some crazy art for y'all. crazier art. Ah! Oh man. But anyways, yeah, like this even has like a little opalescence to it. I'm not sure if it's the mattes, if it's or what it is, but it has a cool sheen to it. So these two are like how do I describe it? Very mechanical in nature for me, and very also natural. Like the lines, I love dots and dashes and lines, and oh man, and then it's just the cube just following into this like subspace hole on the edge of like this weird what's the event horizon. Yeah, but this is just honestly where my head goes when I'm creating these sometimes, and it's like I feel I have to be completely comfortable with that kind of weirdness, because that's just a part of who I am. And it's like trying to mold myself. This is like a daily fight, because being a quote unquote artist who is financially impaired by circumstance, like where do you draw that line? Because it's like, yeah, as an artist we're always trying to find money and stuff like that. We always need to make money, because good God, that's the society we live in. We don't just get free lives because we're artists. We don't live in that kind of world. So that's a whole different conversation about art and money and stuff like that. But yeah, that's always something that hits on people's heads, like how do you balance out that money versus pureness? I've got so much stuff left, so much in a lifetime to learn. So what was that last stuff? Oh yeah, the textures and oh, speaking of black and white, yeah, I'll show this from a little bit further back. Or it could be this way. Yeah, I love black and white. There's something so empathetic that this is like when you deal with emotion, I guess. Because like I said, I've been doing a lot of color, and so I'm trying to remember if this was the video, the one where I talked about the 10 roll or the 4 rolls of paper projects or whatever. But I don't know. I just feel without being distracted by color. I've been using a lot of color, because I mean, like here, let me show you another crazy little pop, 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 pop. Like the neonness of this is just. I got to work a little bit on everything, but man, it's just these. It's fun. I feel energized by something like this. I'm like sitting here and admiring my own art on a video where other people are watching, but you gotta enjoy the process of talking about it. I definitely gotta advance or like evolve and figure out how to properly, not only talk about stuff but keep people's attention. Roommates gave me lollipops. But yeah, like a lot of it is, I've realized before, when I was talking about turning mistakes into like lessons and stuff like that, there have been like so many points where I thought something had become a failure, that I guess like had 2020 not happened, I might still have thought of a failure. But like now, through different lessons I've learned, it's like, okay, so let me put this to the side for a second. Like I got more and more canvases sit to the side nowadays. It might turn into something else than ever before. And not that I keep them for too long, because you can't keep things around for too long. Like, where are you? Ah, this one. Right here. I'm getting into this color palette because my sister likes these colors. And I want to paint some pictures for my sister. Make her happy with stuff. I'm not sure. I got 2 or 3 of these to choose from. Because I told her I was going to send her a really cool one. And I think I got the other one sitting. Yep, there it is. I'll show that in a minute. Eating and doing videos is not the smartest, but I need sugar and I need something so I don't have cotton mouth. But yeah, like this was like, for when I talk about failures, like before, if you look at the underlayer, it was like this kind of mix of like pink and purple and black, and like I wasn't very sure of it and the way that it looked. But then I'm like, you know what? I set it to the side. I did a bunch of other paintings. Yeah, that's right. I did this painting actually. This is the one that I think I'm going to send my sister. I believe that's a little, nope, that one's not pearlescent. Good. And how? There's always like these green leaves on here. But yeah, I wanted to play with that color palette specifically for her. And so it's like, as an artist, you're like, oh, how do I take a completely different kind of color palette combined with infinite different little factors, and then create something that I feel is worthwhile to give my sister. Like for me, there's some very deep emotions like buried in this, like between energy and let's just say for everybody, 2020's been very difficult. But yeah, that's other fun thing about my art is like, which way do you find it up? Which way gives you the greatest impact? But yeah, like learning from mistakes. Like I did this one and I felt confident. Here. That's right. I had to remember some of that stuff. But I felt confident because I was doing like these like lines. Using this new technique in my not just dots. And I'm like, I was getting into drawing again because a lot of, I think, some of my stuff, like if you look at this red piece over here, whew, I gotta remember to breathe. If you look at this red piece over here, there's a very distinctive way that the line moves. It's very definitive. It's less so than like something like this where it's all like splattered all over crazy, or like even these ones up here are definitive, but it's a little different, especially when using like a different paint and a different technique. And so that kind of gave me a boost to say, hey, let me look back at that other canvas and say, hey, what can I do with it? And so I use that emotion just to completely run with it and just like, I want to put this here. No, I'm going to put this here too. Sorry, 41 minutes in. Energy flagging. What have we all talked about? That's right, we've talked about paintings like this with the textures. I love those little dots on the top. Man, I love these heavier bodied paints. I can't wait till I can have a bigger like budget to do stuff. Talked about pushing it into a different technique, playing with colors like confetti, going for like emotional impact, lashing out and trying to deal with frustration of being, having to do certain things. Also, election, the day before election. Like what does that have to do with it? Well, find some meaning in it. I did. What else did I show? Like, we were talking about failures. Even in failures, I love like how this vibes. Like I still might put some white on top of it. I don't know. Like I said, right now I have limited in supplies, so it's like I'm not frustrated too deeply with something that I feel is almost something. So, all right. What else can I show you? It's been 40 minutes. We'll give a couple more of these. I think I've talked about a lot of really cool stuff. For me, like each one of these. Like, this was a early on I showed you. I was frustrated when I made it. And I'm just like, I totally hate it. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to keep it because it's like, some of this art is like a seed in my brain. And people who look at this stuff, look at it longer and longer and fall more and more in love with it. Like, when I first did this one, I hated it. Now, I can't stop staring at that color combo. Like, a lot of these sit on my wall. Like, there's art on all my walls. All right. So we'll go through some more pieces. I showed you, 15 or 20 so far. I don't know. Lots. I feel better about talking about some of this. Stuff since it's been so long. But, because it's like, it's so hard in the first place, I guess, starting where I did and how I did to connect with other artists, dealing with the things that I'm dealing with. And it's just like, this fucking virus, not being able to talk to people face to face, get some like live feedback, just like go to the coffee shop, set up some paintings and be like, yeah, what'd you think? And just like, but anyways, you gotta live with life and deal with it how it comes. And it teaches a lot anyways. But yeah, like, dealing with, like, figuring out fun, having fun with different color combos, like just kind of playing with, this is again another one of those pieces kind of better to see in person. Not everyone is my favorite, and it still holds a place. Like, it makes me want to relax. I think it's missing something, and I haven't figured out what that is. When I figure it out, then it might get updated. Maybe that's what it's waiting for. But speaking about simplicity, like this is like it's actually an opalescent blue mixed with like a nice, almost not a truly fluorescent orange, but the way they work together, they pop off. Like, I didn't want to put anything else on this one. Like, yeah, I could have done like this black scroll. It's like, sometimes I get to a point with the painting and I look at it and I'm like, no, I don't want to do any more to it. It's just like something about it grabs my attention. Oh, look at that. It's like, ooh. Yeah. Oh man, that orange though. Alright, we will do, wait, what left was there? I will do, wait a second. I think I may have gone through pretty much everything in my arm's length. Yeah, because that was all the stuff that I wanted to talk about. Oh, there's the pairing. Like we're talking about, I showed, where are you? There it is. Like doing these in pairs. Now imagine like 4 of these like sitting up, or 3 of these, like this 2 combined with something else. Like that's another, like designing specifically for selling to people but still keeping it true to my artistic self has been an interesting thing. Like, man, it's like this mental gymnastics you sometimes have to do to be like, I don't want to sell out for art, but at the same time I need money to live. And you're like, how can I make that work? And I'm like, if I can make people smile with a bunch of these sitting up on their wall, that means I've made an emotional strike, which is a win for me, artistically. And I've made money because they want them. My pure stuff. I mean, some of the pure art that's out there, like nobody, nobody's gonna buy it. It's like, you can be, as an artist, you get to be really pure to yourself, but that's not always not always gonna sell something. But yeah, even just like, I'm okay with just like random colors. I just felt comfortable. Like I think this is one of the ones that really shows to me that I'm trying to figure out like exactly what I want to put on a canvas. And I know it seems like total utter drivel, but like these, I liken it to like learning how to draw. Like when you draw something, you can do it reactively or intentionally. I know people are like, oh, I draw intentionally, I try and draw a cat. But it's like you get to a certain point in drawing and it's no longer just drawing a cat. There's something a little bit more to it. And it's like, that's where, I guess, in some of this stuff right now, in my limited way, I'm trying to push to. It's like, yeah, I don't know. There's a lot to it. Like understanding myself through art, understanding my own art, having my friends help me understand myself through my own art and trying to understand my art. It's great. It's fun. It's crazy. But good grief, that was like 47 minutes of me talking, 12 minutes of rolling a joint, and then like 45 minutes of art and rambling. But all right, yeah, there's like tons of stuff in my room I could show, but I'm not going to this time. I wanted to keep it pretty much to the recent painting session that I did, because a lot of that stuff was done all at on the same night. I rock with different like thought patterns and feelings, and I've learned that for better or worse, like I follow like as deep as it goes. Like, oh, I want to try this, I want to try that, to the point where I'm like, no, fuck no, no more painting. I hate this. And then I do one more just to see if there's anything if it's just a block I needed to get through. But yeah, man, I feel like the train hit the station. So, all right, thank you everybody for coming by. Yeah, I'm Mike from IamWessel.com. I do art. I try and paint, trying to figure all that art stuff out. So, I guess I hope this gives you a little bit more insight into my art. I know I definitely need to figure out how to polish up the words to be a little bit more insightful, or what's the better, explicative, or story worthy. Like, oh, this one was fun because it was cool. It doesn't always work. But there's like, not only do I have to process my past, I have to process my present and my future. Anyways, thank you all very much for watching. I will now go do more art because the day is far from over. Hope everyone has a good one.